just like that. And then like 2 weeks ago in the first round of the postseason, then he's in Tampa as the Commanders, and it's bad enough that Jaden Daniels had the better year than Caleb Williams, that they've got Kingsbury down there as their offensive coordinator. We had Waldron here, and they hired Quinn when the Bears passed on Quinn and had Eberflus. And then another doink happened at the end of that game. It's got to bring up the Cody Parkey reminders all over again. And Mike, I don't know if you have anything to do with it. Are you trolling us on purpose?
No, it's Collinsworth. It's all Collinsworth, because even after the Jaden Daniels game where they kick it for the win with Zane Gonzalez, Collinsworth says, I don't know what's going on, but every game I do, this happens, right? So
it's incredible, because he was still with Al at the time, wasn't he?
Correct.
With the double doink.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
it's incredible. Just
incredible. It's pretty cool. Hello, boys. Happy New Year. Well, I guess Larry David would have me for saying Happy New Year.
I'm very passionate about this, Mike. I think it's perfect to say Happy New Year to somebody that you haven't seen or talked to since the new year. I don't know why that would irritate anybody. Happy New Year. Happy Halloween. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great Christmas as well.
It's the whole Chris Berman thing. And let me be the first to wish you a happy Halloween, right? on October 26th. Well, you know what? Like, Happy New Year fits for Bears fans today. Like, it feels like it's a new year, new era, new all that stuff.
New opportunity.
It just feels like a big reset button got hit, right?
Yeah, look, and we've had our finger on that reset button for a while. We've hit it before. Well, why do you believe, Mike, as someone who has followed the Lions, you live close in proximity to where Detroit plays, and I'm sure you've met Ben Johnson several times. So why do you believe that Ben Johnson is going to work as the head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, so let's see. In the last 24 months, if you go back to the game that the Lions knocked the Packers out of the playoffs and ended the run for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, you go back to that game, we've had the Lions on our Sunday night crew 7 times, and they're 7-0. They won all 7 of those games. So we've seen Ben multiple times. Plus, as you said, living here, I get over to training camp probably once, if not twice, during a year. So I like Ben a lot. I think what you saw, and I watched the whole press conference at Hallis Hall yesterday afternoon, and I think Bears fans got a sense Ben is just the right fit at the right time because you have offensive talent. You've got good running back. You can supplement there and add another physical back or whatever you want to do there. But you certainly, with Keenan and Rome and Cole, you've got guys who can be dynamic in the pass game. And in Caleb, you just got to get him on schedule. And that's getting trust with the offensive line. I love that Ben said, we've got to trust each other. He's got to be on the same page from the start. Now, we saw some of that with Coach Eberflus in Hard Knocks and all of that. But I think it's just different when it's your play caller. And Ben is going to be the voice in his head 24/7 at camp, through OTAs, in the game, calling plays. It's going to be a direct connection. And it worked with Jared Goff. And Ben is so well respected in that locker room in Detroit that I think this is going to work very well for the Bears.
Mike,
and I'm super excited.
Do you think he's got a stern personality that will translate as a head coach and not just as an OC or play caller?
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? It's the old basketball slide over one chair to the head coach's chair, and you're no longer everybody's friend.
Right.
But Ben, very much a taskmaster, very much emotional on it. When little things went wrong, it bothered him. And he let people know. So he held people to a high standard. Watching him in practice, we get the very, very, very fortunate opportunity to watch teams practice on a Friday before a Sunday home game. And the few times we've been there or at camp, Ben's on details. When details aren't right, he's not afraid to let people know. He doesn't yell and scream, and it's not the bleep F-laden string of NFL films gold, right? It's direct, and it's to the point, and he is on it. And I think he's going to set that tone right from the start. And I think that's what this offense needs. I think Caleb has a magical ability with the unscripted play. But I think to be the most effective as an unscripted quarterback in the NFL, you need to be really good scripted. And I think trusting scripted is going to lead to great unscripted stuff. And I think that base will be put in place with Ben over this next 6 or 7 months.
The great Mike Tirico joining us. It's Waddle and Sylvie on ESPN 1000. We've been talking to you for years. You got so tired of our Jay Cutler questions. But one thing we always said on our show about Cuddy is that we believed, especially earlier in his Bears career, that he needed someone to coach him hard. That like Bruce Arians would have been perfect. They passed on Arians at one time. How important do you think it is for Caleb here in year 2, especially very early still in his career,
right,
based on what you just said, Mike, that he is coached hard, that he has someone demanding of him in year number 2 so he can live up to what he's supposed to be?
Very important. And Sylvie, I think what even drills it home even more is right in the division, right across the sideline twice this year, since it's his first year in Chicago, Caleb got to see Jared Goff. And Caleb, as we know, as an athlete, is not anywhere near Jared Goff. He's got much more ability physically out of the pocket and all of that. Jared's arm is terrific. What he does, he's very good at. Caleb has an extra skill set. We all know about that. But he got to see firsthand a quarterback who's gotten better every year. All you have to do is open up whatever stat site you like, open up Pro Football Reference, and just read the stats for Jared Goff in his 4 years in Detroit. And other than maybe one drop in, I believe, completion percentage, year 1 to 2, every stat improved annually. Yards, touchdowns, completion percentage, all that stuff. So you're seeing a quarterback who had already been to the Super Bowl, who was the number 1 overall pick, who was a good quarterback, and he constantly improved with this head coach. And that alone, if I just slide that piece of paper in front of Caleb Williams, just say, look, here's what he just did with Jared Goff. The guy can do this for you. Just believe.
Mike, I'm going to ask you to make a comparison that may be a bit unfair because of there's so many different variables attached to the two players. But you saw, obviously, Jaden Daniels, and you obviously saw Caleb Williams. And when you factor everything in, how would you describe the difference and the production and what you saw with these two quarterbacks?
You're right. Unfair question, but that's good for you. That's your usual. Hey, that's your usual song and dance.
That's my move,
I'm
Mike.
used to
That's my
move. But it's all right. That's why I love you. I would say the one difference to me is the amount of college starts and experience start to show up a little bit, just a little bit for me, because now Caleb had plenty of it, okay, but you're talking in Jaden Daniels, 55 collegiate starts and a couple of moves, a move to USC, a move to LSU, which meant a new coordinator, a new staff, a new team, a new system. So he'd kind of been through it. I think that may show a little bit right now in that. Now, we could go 5 years, and Jaden Daniels could be a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. We could be looking at 2 drafts in a row where the number 2 pick was better than the number 1 pick. But it doesn't mean, as we saw with Bryce Young this year, that you give up on the number 1 pick. Bryce Young got better this year. Why did he get better this year? Dave Canales, good coaching. Now, if you look at Bryce Young, go, okay, you know what? Maybe they do have a guy in Carolina. Maybe they're not in search mode in year 3 and 4. And the same kind of thing can happen here. So I think with Caleb, it was everything Sylvie said at the top, the connection of Kingsbury offense, a good defense, all that stuff. And again, this Chicago season, I don't know why they couldn't just stop the ripcord after the Washington game, and it went so south, and they lost every close game. This team was not. What did the record end up at? 5-12.
5-12. Yeah.
This team was not. This was not a 5-12 team. This team was better than that. Like, they were a 7-10, 8-9 team. There were games they should have won, including a game against Detroit. So I think overall, it's going to be good. I really, really love this hire, love the energy, and love the moves that were made here. Hey, they went out and spent a lot of money on a head coach who has not been a head coach in the NFL. And this is the guy they wanted. This was the hot guy in the market, and he's the guy who wants to be there. So perfect.
I think that, like, 30 for 30 should do a short called the Hail Mary, because we know our side of the thing where it ruined our season, and what you just said about pulling the ripcord. It was just indefensible that they couldn't win, that they lost to the Patriots at home. They lost 10 in a row after that game. Everything that they thought they had, it was proven to be fake. What happens, do you believe, that the Commanders, Mike, knowing that team, if they lose the Hail Mary game, do you believe it's just a blip on the radar and they are still where they are today?
I do. I do. I think they had a lot of good going there. I had them in the preseason. At the end of the preseason, we had Washington and New England, and we left feeling like there were the bones there for a really good team. And it proved to be that. And I think because of the experienced people they had, and again, I keep coming back to Jaden and all those starts. And I know Caleb was at two schools, and he had his 30-something starts. I just felt like Jaden had a surrounding with him that made a great, perfect fit. And the changing of offensive coordinators and Waldron not having a first 50, that was the most maybe stunning thing of the whole Bears season. Like, there's no script. We're not going with the first 15 here with a rookie quarterback, really? It just kind of, I honestly don't remember the last game I did where you were going in with, obviously it must have been a Seattle game that I just didn't know, that there wasn't a first 15 and a script. And I just think with a young quarterback, the structure wasn't there, and then you make the offensive coordinator change and all that stuff. Whereas the structure in Washington not only had stability with Cliff Kingsbury running the offense, it also had, we bring the Cowboys center in here, Biotish, so he's handling all the line calls up front. We got Cosme, who's going to be a big guy missing in this championship game in the right guard. We've got maybe our best offensive lineman over there. We brought in another veteran lineman up front. So we've got guys to protect him. And with Chicago, it was never that, okay, quarterback's going to get time. He can play on schedule. And it just felt like it snowballed as the season went on. So, yeah, I don't think Washington would have gone in reverse direction if they don't get that Hail Mary. I think they still would have had a good season. Maybe not this good, but it still would have been good.
I'm mesmerized by the poise that kid has in Washington.
Unbelievable.
Jaden Daniels just plays under control.
And Tommy, if you sit across from him in a production meeting, we did twice in 3 weeks because we had them week 17 and then in the wild card game in Tampa, he's all of it. And Bobby Wagner, who's 14 years in the league, you have to excuse me. I'm done with my season, so all my facts have now left my brain. I think Bobby's like 14 years in the league. He swears by the kid. Yeah. He comes in early in the morning, and he's like, the kid brings donuts to the offensive line, and then we go into the bubble, and he's doing his virtual reality stuff. He's just wired differently than most rookie quarterbacks that we've interacted with. And he's got, in addition to the ability, the poise to handle the position, he may not win the game. He may have a tough game, but I don't think the moment in Philadelphia is going to be too big for him on Sunday. And I don't know many rookie quarterbacks that I would say that about.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, before we get to that, when you meet a guy like that in a production meeting, and you're obviously watching the games he's playing in the film, it doesn't surprise you when he steps out onto the field in a playoff game and plays like that, correct?
Correct. That's like even in the preseason, he didn't play in the preseason game, but we asked for him in our production meeting just so we could meet him because obviously he was the talk of the town, and Dan Quinn didn't play him because he won the job. He didn't get the job handed to him. He won the job in preseason, and he walked out of the room, hey, man, great to meet you, appreciate it, and he leaves, and I look at Chris, I'm like, man, and Chris is like, that kid gets it. Yeah. That kid, he's got it, right? And everything everybody said has been reinforced every time we've talked to him or watched him play. And more importantly, what everybody in the Washington organization, from front office to the people in the administrative side say about him tells you they got the right guy. That's what you do. Hey, it was explained to me once, I forget who it was, that quarterback, you're asking somebody to be the pilot of a $2 billion plane.
Yeah.
And when that guy's got it, then you've got a chance.
It's awesome. Okay, this is probably going to be odd as well, so I'm going to stay in character. And I'm probably a lone wolf here. I hate when Mother Nature plays a role in an important playoff game. Now, go to last week. You got the Rams, who, I mean, what a couple of weeks it's been for that group.
Right.
When I'm watching that game, Mike, I'm enjoying the drama, but I'm also pissed because I want to watch these guys at that level, at that point in the season, play in a more controlled environment, and I don't want the elements to be part of it. Is that an unreasonable request?
Extraordinarily fair. And I think that's why you saw the one Super Bowl in New York, and you will not see an outdoor weather cold Super Bowl ever again. I shouldn't say ever again, but for the very, very realistic future for all of us. I think, let's get a new building built wherever. I heard you guys with Kevin Warren, who does a great job yesterday. Whether it's Arlington Park or it's the museum campus, wherever it ends up being, like that place will have a dome, and Chicago hopefully will host the Super Bowl. Right? Yeah. An outdoor game shouldn't happen in the Super Bowl because of exactly what you said. We'll be hanging on forever the reality of, man, if this game were played in a dome or this game were played in warm weather, it would be different. And you're right. There was a stretch there in the fourth quarter where it just became who's got the most sure footing. And that's not where you want your season to be decided. Having said that, the Rams, who never practice in this and never see it, were a completion or two away from winning the game. So full credit to them. But although I love doing snow game, or not as much as I did before I did this snow game, I love being a part of snow games. I agree with you that you're just not seeing the best against the best in the best conditions. So I get it, but I do like the moment for the excitement of the memory of a playoff game in the snow. All
right, I have two questions on the Chiefs game here.
Yeah.
Chiefs and Bills, which I can't wait for. Number one, and congratulations, by the way, on getting the lead voice of the NBA on NBC.
Thank you.
Which we all knew was going to happen anyway.
Let's just get the Bulls to be good so I can have more trips to Chicago. But thank you.
Yeah, you will not be coming to Chicago anytime soon. Anytime. So it will have to happen during Cubs games. But
okay.
And the reason I bring up the NBA here is, Mike, because there was always the perception that MJ got all the benefit of the whistles. And that that David Stern wanted this team to go to the finals and that team not to go to the finals because it benefited the league. I don't believe that the refs are in on anything. I don't. We all know. I think most sane people understand that. But the perception of what's going on and some of those bad calls with the Chiefs, like my son's yelling at me about it. He's 10. Like Mahomes getting this call, like that was an egregious call the other day when he's running and Aikman's yelling about it, Mike. How does the NFL get this where it doesn't look like the Chiefs are always getting the benefit of the flag?
Right. Terrific question. I made the same analogy to somebody who was talking about it off air amongst our group last week. It was somebody who was a little bit younger, and I was like, "You guys don't remember the Jordan Bulls? The Jordan Bulls always got the whistle, or it felt that way in the biggest moments." And historically and traditionally in sports, the best players usually got the benefit of the whistle, sometimes because they were better and they earned penalties, or you had to do something illegal to try to stop them. But this has been just multiple times, and the league is praying that they're not in a spot where a flag is thrown and it's the wrong flag against Buffalo on Sunday. Mahomes, he even admitted the one that he was trying to sell on the sideline later on in the game, because Patrick has this like really awkward running ability. and this really unique ability to keep a play alive. I think it's a magnet for more of those calls, and he puts the officials in a brutal spot. And what are the officials told? When you're not sure, it's a flag because it's player safety with the quarterbacks. Because as we see, when you lose quarterbacks, the game's bad. So I think it's the beneficiary of a bunch of those things. I'll say traditionally the Chiefs are not a very highly penalized team. Neither were Andy Reid's Eagles teams. So I think they're well coached. And when we go to practice, there are always officials there. And they're real officials, real involvement from the officials. That's a penalty, that's a flag. So I think there's a little bit of that, but it's also Mahomes has a unique ability. And in the benefit of the doubt moments, you usually throw a flag for the later hit or the mistake that cost the opponent from Mahomes. So I do think that's a concern. But I think if you go back, the last call last week was not right. The first one was close enough that live, you got to call it. What we need to do better as a TV industry is replay the play live, real speed, not slowed down. And the league is getting more involved than ever before in the booth telling them what's really going on. So maybe it kickstarts that another year. We'll see if time proves that to be true.
All right, second question.
Yep.
On all of these debate shows, which I like some and I don't like others, but this is the industry we're in. They talk ad nauseum about legacy games. Every game's a legacy game. Last week, Allen against Lamar, legacy game. Now for sure it's Allen against Mahomes, legacy game. You as the voice of Sunday Night Football, the premier voice in sports, what do you say when we talk about these games being legacy games? Is this fair or unfair?
Yeah, I don't watch those shows for that exact reason. I mean, and that's not disrespecting. Like, I like Stephen A. I like the guys who are on the show. Chris Russo's entertaining. The guys on Fox Sports. They are doing exactly what they should do, which is great. It's good entertainment. It's a great conversation. It keeps it going Monday to Friday or Saturday. I try to stay in the meat and potatoes business because on Sunday I need to tell you facts, not all opinions. Like, we give the MVP award away on week 7 and week 9, and I refuse to engage. I will not engage until we get to the end of the season. Because remember, Carson Wentz several years ago was the MVP, and then he got hurt, and then Philly went on to win the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. So, as everybody there knows. So, I don't engage and watch the shows. I will say that I think Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are Ernie Els and Phil Mickelson. They are, Charles Barkley, and they are guys who are playing in an era where one of the best of all time on a fabulous team that is extraordinarily coached and very well put together is in their way. And it does hurt their legacy because you'll never look back and say he made 7 AFC championship games or things like that. They're all just as good. Just Mahomes is not only a tick better in these bigger games, he's got the better group with him. So if one of them can knock out Mahomes at Arrowhead, GEHA at Arrowhead, whatever it is, to get to a Super Bowl, I think that will enhance their resume significantly when we're all said and done. But, Lamar Jackson is not a lesser quarterback. See, okay, here's the perfect example. I'll be quick. The perfect example is Lamar Jackson last week. Lamar Jackson, his legacy, will it be tarnished if he doesn't beat Josh Allen? Mark Andrews dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews catches that ball, then Lamar Jackson's legacy changes? No. We all saw the game. We know it wasn't Lamar's fault. It's just one of those things that happen. So this whole legacy talk, like, where's the back-end reality that, guys, you know what we said for 8 days? Well, Lamar's legacy is still the same because he had nothing to do with the drop on a ball that he threw pretty well for the 2-point conversion. So that's why I think it's too much, but I do think anybody who beats Mahomes to get to a Super Bowl in this moment when they're great will have something that sticks out on their resume.
I knew you would have good perspective on it. We always say you're the commissioner of sports. That's
great.
You're a commissioner.
And like I always say,
It's an
I'm not the commissioner of anything in my house, so it's okay.
I was going to say, the title we gave you, it's an unpaid title, so there's nothing, there's no compensation for it. But
I look at the trophy longingly on my mantle. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. Well, congratulations on another great season and getting the NBA gig. And I guess maybe we'll see you for one NFL game next year, if at all. But
I sure as heck hope so. Like, that Bears-Lions game sounds really good, right? Let's roll it. And, well, you know what? And Bears-Packers sounds really good now with what Ben said at the podium. So, no, I'm happy for the Bears and everybody up in Lake Forest. I'm really happy for Ben and the Chicago fans. You got a guy who I really think highly of and is going to give Caleb a chance. So good on these guys for saying, we've got a raw material here. Let's do the best to surround them, and I think it'll be good days for the Bears.
Great stuff,
As
Mike.
always, thanks, Mike.
Talk to you guys soon. Be well.
There you go. He's the best. Nobody better than Mike Tirico.